G'day everyone, my name's Cautious Pancake, and today I'm happy to say that my mod for extra Trader Quests is back up and running for 1.1. At least for single player. Multiplayer is still under a bit of testing, but hopefully should be ready as well soon. For those that missed it in Alpha 21, this mod aims to add additional quests into the game to provide a bit of variety from the standard quests. In today's video I'll talk through the quests, what was wrong with them in Alpha 21, and what I've done to hopefully fix things in this release.
Well, hello! Have a look around and let me know if you need anything.
Let's start off with the Defend the Safehouse quest. This was the first new quest I built and aims to combine something like a mini wandering horde with a POI, where you can choose to build a static fighting position or just run around the outside of the building fighting zombies. One of the main criticisms from the original version was that the zombies spawned too close and would sometimes even spawn inside the POI you were fighting within. That's been fixed in this version thanks to one of the new features that the Fun Pimps added in 1.0. The zombies can now be told when they spawn to come for the player even when they spawn further away, which just wasn't possible in Alpha 21 from the XML. The original version also had some random speed changes for zombies. I made it so that when a new zombie was spawned, it sped up the existing zombies and was designed to make things more challenging. But it seemed to irritate pretty much everyone that I saw playing the quest, so I've removed that. Another change for this quest is that I've reduced the kill count to match somewhere near the normal clear quest target. Possibly slightly higher, but the trade-off is that you don't need to track through the whole POI, so it can be done faster to achieve the quest. The rewards have also therefore been balanced to a clear quest equivalent. The number of kills required are now 15 for Tier 1, 20 for Tier 2, 30 for Tier 3, 40 for Tier 4, and 125 for Tier 5. Don't blame me about that jump, that's just how it is in game. As an example, I did a Navscan General Hospital Tier 5 fetch and clear and killed 128 zombies. I've also lowered the number of zombies spawned at the start of the quest to reduce the server load and reduce the size of the overall horde spawned as well. The zombies will now also spawn in after 30 seconds instead of 5 minutes, as particularly for Tier 1, 5 minutes was just way too long, so now you'll need to make sure that you've got a plan for how to fight them as soon as they start coming. I've also removed the zombie alert sound from the spawn. They will spawn in silently now, so there's no warning, they'll just show up, but it's not like you won't be expecting them. Moving on to the speed and infested speed clear quests, which add an additional challenge to the existing clear and infested quests by requiring players to complete them as fast as possible to get additional rewards. When starting a speed clear, you'll be presented with a bronze, silver and gold timer buff. Complete the quest before the buff disappears and you'll get some additional bonuses. It was pointed out though, for the last version, that the way the quest was set up, it was always going to be superior to a normal clear quest, even if you missed the bronze buff time. In this version, I've dialed it back, so if you don't meet the bronze timer, you'll only get the same rewards as a clear. So there's no penalty for taking the speed clear version. If you want to ignore the speed part, it just becomes a clear quest. Of course, if you do try and do the speed clear, trying to run things quickly will result in extra ammo usage or extra damage taken a lot of the time, which is why there's extra rewards. Bronze will now give an infestation level XP and gold for a clear. Silver will give 25% additional XP and dukes on top of the bronze. And for gold, you'll get the same as the silver reward, plus an additional extra item quest reward from the trader. Another change to these quests is that the infested speed clear version has also had their base time increased, rather than just being the same as a normal clear. This was done due to the additional number of zombies that you will have to kill. And for both normal and infested clears, the game difficulty will now also increase the amount of time, with insane difficulty giving 50% additional time, survivalist 40%, warrior 30%, nomad 20%, adventurer 10%, and scavenger will have no bonus to the time. This is designed to make the times more achievable. Again, from watching various players try and do this and getting feedback on the forums, the quest times were just too difficult on the higher difficulties and it needed that additional bump. One change that I'm still looking into for these is for making them shareable. They weren't originally, as the timer is based on a single player run, but in the interest of letting people play how they want, I'm looking at what would happen if I change this over. Next is the supply drop quest, also known as the contraband collection quest, which was probably the least liked quest from the original version. This was due to two main items. Firstly, it was set up as a nighttime only quest, which is always a less preferred time to be out questing given the increased zombie speeds. The other reason it wasn't popular was due to the sheer number of zombies spawned, particularly once you got into say tier 3 or above, or were playing with friends. As each player on the quest gets their own spawns, this quickly got out of control. To help bring this back as a viable quest, it can now be done any time of day, and the spawn rates have been significantly reduced, particularly on the higher tiers. However, it's now a chance-based spawn, so you can get some variance with this in difficulty. Possibly too much if I'm honest, as I've had some runs that felt to me a little too easy. Other changes for this quest is that I've given you a little bit more room. You now have a 20 meter radius to stay within rather than 10 meter, which was due to some of the changes as well in the crate drop mechanic, which would occasionally put it out of reach. Additionally, the supply drop crate now correctly explodes if you fail the quest by getting out of range or dying, so you can't deliberately fail the quest and just grab the loot from the crate. Hopefully, these changes will make it a more interesting option for people to play, but please let me know your thoughts on this new version. Is it too easy now, or is it much better? Speaking of thoughts, please have a think about hitting that like button if you're a fan of more quest variety in 7 days. The last pair of quests are the Clear+Food and the Clear and Meds quests. Both quests see you tasked with helping out some other survivors by clearing a POI and leaving some needed items, either medical supplies or food and drink for them to use. The most obvious initial change for this quest is thanks to a suggestion from Weaselson. I've included the required mats now in the quest description so that you know prior to taking the quest what it is that you will need. Then there's a couple of fixes for bugs that I struggled with in the original versions. First, there was the issue where the nav marker wouldn't show the trader to return to. That's been fixed, but it does require you to bring back an empty supply satchel to the trader. This was a necessary trade-off to make things work correctly. The second bug fixed also has a trade-off. For those that played the last version, you may remember that if you clicked on these quests in the quest menu, you'd get a non-stop scroll of console errors until you clicked off them again, which I eventually worked out was from having too many quest objectives in the quest. To prevent this, some of the mid-quest objectives are now hidden. However, these quest objectives are still there to ensure that you have all the required items in your inventory throughout the quest, rather than just at the beginning. For example, if you were doing a Clear and Meds quest that requires one first aid bandage to be handed over, but then you forget that you need it for the quest and use it to heal, the quest will now look like it sort of bugs out or at least stops progressing, but in fact it's just waiting for you to get another of the first aid bandages into your inventory and then it will continue. So that's something to be aware of as you play this one now. If I find out a better solution for that in time, I'll look to implement that instead. The last thing that I've done is completely revamp the required items and rewards for this quest. Effectively now, it's a clear quest in terms of reward from the trader. However, for the materials that you donate, you also get a bonus item as thanks from the other survivors. You don't get to select it, instead it's randomly selected from tier appropriate rewards that you would normally get to pick from. These quests therefore are a good option instead of a clear if you have some extra food or meds that you're happy to donate in return for a chance at something more useful. The randomness of the reward is there to make sure that it doesn't get too overpowered as a quest and always be better than just doing a clear. And finally, one of the broader issues that I noticed when watching other people play with this mod is that sometimes you will get nothing but these new quests offered to you, and you just want a normal vanilla fetch quest or something similar to knock out quickly before Horde Night. To try and balance things out overall, I've added a separate mod called the Quest Balancer that is now part of this mod package. This should increase the probability of getting vanilla quests back to a more comfortable ratio so that you still get plenty of the new quests, but there's also usually at least one vanilla quest in the 5 shown so that it's not just a complete set of the new type of quests. As with all of these quests though, each is implemented in a self-contained modlet that can be removed if you don't like it. So if there's any quest in there that you especially don't want to see in your playthrough, just delete that individual folder and you'll be good to go. Well, that's everything for this release of the Trader Quest Addendum mod, which you can download from Nexus Mods. The link is in the video description, and while you're looking for that, please consider hitting the subscribe button if you're interested in seeing more 7 Days to Die videos like this one. Thanks as always to my awesome supporters from Patreon, thanks to you for watching, and happy questing. And if you were wondering what happened to the quest that forced the Horde Night defense that I prototyped earlier, that's still in development as a single player option only. There's a number of other quest ideas that I've also been working on as well, but none are working well enough for inclusion at this time. I've been taking advantage of and really enjoying the changes and additions that the Fun Pimps have been adding, so massive thanks to them as always. I'm really excited as well to see what options that they add with the coming new quest types that are on the roadmap.